Hello, welcome along, welcome back to the channel. If you're new, please hit that subscribe down there and hit the notifications bell and give us a thumbs up, it all helps. So here we have a review of a brand new kit. This may be one of the first in the country. This is the Beemax Vintage Selection McLaren MP4-4. So this was Ayrton Senna's championship winning car. And this one is modelled around Monaco 1988, I believe. Where is it? It says here somewhere. Yeah, it's modelled after the 1988 Round 3 Monaco Grand Prix specification. So first thing to notice on here, we have slick tyres here and we have wet tyres there, and we actually get both in the box. Now I have had a very quick look, but I haven't looked at the instructions or anything, so we'll go through all that together. And as you can see, it's a massive box. It's huge as my hands on the box. Very Tamiya-esque. Very Tamiya Formula 1 kit, like in the artwork and in everything about it. So the kit number is, where is the kit number? It's number 2. So it's going to have a number something 2, which we'll see in a minute on the sides of the box, no doubt, or on the ends. But it's part of their vintage selection. If you remember, I did a review recently of the Honda. Sorry, not the Honda, the Lotus with the Honda engine. And I also got the upgrade set for that. And if you remember, I bought 2 of the upgrade sets and then sold one on. And I've done the same with this. I've bought 2 of the upgrade sets and I will sell one on. So if you're interested, look out for that video and then you can send me a message about your interest. So what have we got here? As you can see, cutaway of the car. Go around the sides of the box, very Tamiya-esque. We can see there's an aerial cutaway view there. We've got some words you can have a look at if you want to freeze frame and read about the model itself. And then we've got the visions of the model here, and then we've got the cutaway there, and then here's all our paint call-outs. And they are in Mr. Colour, Aqueous, Mr. Hubby, and Tamiya. So there we go. So those are your paint call-outs. And then coming around to the end of the box, you have here the kit number is BX12002, and it's on the end there. Okay, obviously the box is so long I can't get it in front of the camera. And then here on this side of the box we've got an aerial view of the model there, and then we have all about the car there, and then we have some images of the actual model itself, which is nice to see rather than CAD images. So that's the actual model itself, and I did see a note somewhere to say that they'd actually use the upgrade parts on this. So there we go. So it's made in Macau, Beemax Development Company Limited, and Platz. You can see there's Beemax, New, Platz. I'm not sure if they're all the same company. I would imagine Beemax and Platz are. So there we go. So looking inside the box, we have very Tamiya-esque. We have a cardboard splitter in the middle, which Tamiya seems to have lost these days. You just get everything thrown in the box, which isn't so good. And then we've got some sprues over here, separated into their little compartment. We've got sprues here, we've got slide moulded parts, we've got brake calipers, we've got an engine and gearbox there. I'm not sure if it's the same as the Lotus, we'll have to have a look. And then we've got wheels here. So all very nice indeed. And then we've got boxes of tyres. We've got a box of our little detail parts, and then engine parts, and then we've got white parts here, and we've even got some chrome for the exhaust by the look of it. So there we go. So what we need to do now is find out where the instructions are. We've got decals here, which unfortunately are put face up in the bottom of the box. They've got around their licensing thing by doing this. Look, we've got good Y and then ear. We've got the Marlboro decals as they would have appeared in a band situation, and then we've got seat belts here, more tyre decals. This is a mask for the windscreen by the look of it, and there's another sheet of decals behind there. And then we've got just colour call outs here. We've got a colour call out sheet here, so that's very nice. And then we've got the actual instruction manual here, which is, as I say, very Tamiya-esque, even in all the same colours and everything. If you remember, I just did a review of that Enterprise. You can see the similarity there with the blue and black ink. So there we go. So without further ado, what we'll do is we'll have a look at that. We'll have a look at the decals. We'll have a look at the instructions. But first of all, I need to get the camera down and get it closer to the bench so that you can see what it is we're looking at. Okay, so as you can see here, we've got the mask for the windshield. It looks like it's, yes, it is. It is die cut. The dark line is like a frame around it. You can see the actual cut is inside that dark line. So there's our mask. We've got some seat belts here. I never really like these seat belts because they always seem to have like a bit of a sort of frayed edge, if you know what I mean. But they're in there nonetheless. You may choose to buy some aftermarket seat belts. You can actually get some from Spot Model 12 scale seat belts, and they come with like one set of photo etch buckles and stuff, but they have all the different colours like red, blue, black, and I think maybe green as well. So you get the actual different colour ribbons, so you could use them perhaps with the buckles that come in this kit. So we've got some goo dye ear. Okay, here's our Goodyear decals for our tyres. Alright, so I wish Tammy would do something similar to get around the licensing, because you know, some of the car kits now, they've got hardly any sponsorship decals on. They look a little bit bare. And then here we've got decal sheets. So we've got tag Heuer there. We've got car 12, car 11, Honda decal shell. We've got temperature decals for the brakes. And then we've got some little stencil bits and pieces here. And then we've got these stripes and then these heat shield parts here. So that's very nice. And then we've got another sheet of decals here. So this is for your red, obviously. So it's a very, very, very bright red. It's almost like magenta. So you've got the red there for the wing ends. There's the red for the nose. Okay, you would probably choose to paint it rather than use these decals. And then here we have another sheet of decals, so that's going to be, that's around the rear end, that's going to be around here, and then you've got these side pieces here, and then we've got the bits for the wings, and then those bits there for the sides. As I say, you would probably mask and paint this, you wouldn't use decals, but they've given you the decals nonetheless. So if you are someone who's new to the hobby, who doesn't have an airbrush or anything, you can use them. But I would suggest painting the white. A lot of people would say, I'll just put them on the white plastic. In my experience, decals don't tend to stick very well to plastic. It's always best to put some gloss white paint down, or even a gloss clear coat, just so the decals have got something to bite to. So there we go. So that's that. That's our decals, seat belts and masks. So I'm going to immediately get them put away for fear of spilling something on them. Okay, so here we have the colour call-outs. You can see the decal placement guide. So you can see there's the big red decal placement and everything. So very nice. That's all cool. And then here we have the instructions. So let's get all this out of shot, and we'll have a look through the instruction manual. So as I say, you can see very Tamiya-esque with the pictures there of the real car. Some images here in black and white. You can see the front suspension with the brake lines and the data recorders and everything here for the suspension. So there we go. Right, so going into the book, we're going to have, this is some history about the car. I can see that Gordon Murray coming up there, and then there's more there. That's a lot of information about the car. We've got some warning sort of stuff here about, you know, about using glues and paints and this, that and the other. How to assemble. You've got some hints and tips here on how to actually build the model. It says here use nippers, after test fitting to meant position. So there we go. And then over the page we've got the paint call outs. So you've got all your Mr. Hobby colour call outs here, and then you've got the name of the paint in Japanese, English, Spanish, Chinese, and you've got the Tamiya numbers there. So that's cool. So that's going to be X13. That's going to be TS49. Okay, TS49 is the colour they're recommending for the red. So there you go. And then here we've got the how to apply decals and everything. And then here they're talking about prepare these tools before assembly. And then we've got a 0.6, a 1mm, a 1.2 and a 1.6mm drill. So we're going to need those as well. So we're firing off straight away with assembly of the engine. I'm just going to quickly grab the instructions for the Lotus and see if this is what actually all the same. Okay, so I've had a quick look and nothing is the same. So that's very lucky. You would have thought they might have sort of cheaped out and put a slightly inaccurate engine in one of the kits, or made a sort of generic engine that would suit both. But no, they've made new molds for both of them. So I'm not saying that some of the parts on the sprue may be the same, but the sprues are actually completely different. There's no similarity whatsoever. So here we've got the engine assembly going together. We've got the exhaust manifold flanges going on there. We've got the rear end of the transmission drive flanges here, and then here we've got a nut being sort of welded into the bottom of the gearbox there, and we've got a little hose and a fitting here, and then we've got mountings going in here, and then we've got the engine sides, the engine front and rear covers going on, and the top of the gearbox. And then we've got more parts here. We've got the intakes going together. You can see we've got the butterfly things on there. It looks like injector flanges maybe. And then we've got oil filters by the look of it. And then here we've got parts going together, and we've got decals to go on there. So we've got Honda decals, and I'm thinking that might be a carbon fibre decal or something on there. We shall see. And then we've got some bits and pieces going down here. We've got our coils going on the top of the cam covers, another hose there, and we've got another cover going on the back. And then we've got more little bits going on the engine here. Fuel injection pipes and injectors by the look of it. And then we've got the alternator going together here. And then there's the flanges for the intakes. That's a little straight. Oh, these are going on top of the intakes. Okay, so we've got more flanges going on top, and then we've got an oil cooler. We've got a swirl pot there. It's looking like an oil swirl pot probably, and then there's another sort of oil distributor, whatever it is, down the bottom there. And then we've got some more pipe work going in. And then starting on the suspension, so we've got the springs here, we've got some photo etch parts to fold up, we've got a jig here to fold the parts on by the look of it, so that's pretty cool. And then we've got they're telling us here to drive the screws in with a screwdriver. You've got like a triangular hole, so that's going to work really, really well. Tubes included in assembly drawings 4. Okay, so if we look at the assembly drawings 4, there are those tubes there, and they're going to go into there. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So they weren't actually oil filters at all. They're actually suspension reservoirs. Okay, sorry about that. And then we've got the push rods here going in for the suspension. So they're going to go onto the top of those springs. And then we've got all sorts of screws and everything. It's worth noting from the front of the box, these are actually got carbon fibre in them to make them really strong, the wishbones. And then here we've got the jig being used again to fold those photo etch brackets, and then we're going to screw those brackets into the wishbones, and that'll all go together. And as you can see here, we're applying decals and painting and all sorts of things here. And then we've got screws going in, more screws going in, and there we are. So that's the uprights and the rear disc brakes gone together. Then we've got some calipers going in, and then repeat that on the other side. A little anti-roll bar going in there. Remove some lumps of plastic, and then we're going to add another tube to our swirl pot by the look of it. Seatbelt assembly, building all those up. We've got the boss going on there, and then we're going to add the belts to the seat, and then add the seat to the cockpit by the look of it. I haven't seen anything about drilling yet. And then we've got panels going on to the side there. This is the part of the monocoque here, part of the tub you might want to call it. So that's all going together. And then we've got front suspension components, front bulkhead, and then we're going to drop that assembly into there. We're using these little jigs again to bend up these brackets. Brake master cylinders with their little reservoirs going on there. Very nice indeed. We've got steering arms here. It looks like they're just going to clip in. And then more and more screws going in. Oh no, they're not just going to clip in, we've got screws going in. And then we're going to add that nose piece over the top. There's nothing here that's telling us any sort of assembly order, but it looks like you're going to have to put these screws in before you add that part there. Then we've got a little, I'm guessing that's part of fire extinguisher going underneath the driver's feet there. We've got the pedal assembly going in, and then we've got the actual floor going in. If you keep an eye on YouTube, there will be some Japanese modelers building this, and they do all sorts of little special techniques to get rid of these screw heads and everything, and it's always fun to watch. So here we have, again using that jig to fold photo etch parts. We've got screws going together for the, they're going to attach the wheels with wheel nuts. No doubt the aftermarket set will have those replaced with an accurate looking part. And then adding the front uprights to the wishbones. And then we've got the steering column, steering wheel. We've got some electronics going on here. There's like the roll bar going over the top. Adding the electronics in there. We've got the a lever on the side there. And then here we have little brackets going into our floor. We've got the exhaust flanges there. And then we've got intercoolers here for our turbos. More intercoolers here, more intercoolers here. One's going to be intercoolers, one's going to be water radiators. So the ones with the big pipes are intercoolers, the ones with the little pipes are water generally. Another box of tricks here. We've got some drilling to do finally, and then we've got a little greebly going on there, and then that assembly is going to get added to the whole model there. So bringing all that together, and then coming along here we've got the turbos, which is the fun bit. Lovely, lovely turbos. Hopefully they're really beautifully detailed because they were in the Lotus kit. I keep calling it the Honda kit, or thinking the Honda kit. And then we've got the other side there, and then we're going to add. What are we doing here? We're adding all of this down onto the floor pan, down to the under tray, and then we've got the exhaust going in there with the turbos. And then we've got another under tray, a lot of screws going in. So you can see there it's all starting to come together. And then coming over the page, I think I've missed a page. Yes, I have. And then we've got air intakes for the turbos. Okay, not quite sure what these are. These are like a spill or something. Maybe that's where they dump the air back into the intake system. And then here we've got the plenum chamber with the big blow-off valve on the front there, which was typical for this age. That was how they controlled the actual boost. They ran something like 4 or 5 bar boost in these engines. It's absolutely crazy. You know, when you think your average turbo car is probably running about 0.8 bar or 0.6 bar boost, which is, you know, like 10 psi. These were running, even if it was 4 bar, that's like 60 psi. Absolutely crazy levels of boost, which is why they managed to make over 1,000 horsepower. So there we've got our front wing assembly coming together. More plumbing there. And then we're going to build up the rear wing. It's like a complex little assembly there. And then we've got screws going here for the wing support. That's a nice touch to make it nice and strong. And then we're going to drop the wing down onto there. We've got the little rear light there for visibility in wet weather. And then we've got intakes going into the inside here, probably worth fitting them and filling and dealing with the seams and everything and then painting it all together. So probably be doing this first if you're building it. And then we've got a mask here. So apply masking sheet to the window parts and paint the window frame. So this is for painting the inside of the window frame. That's what that little mask was I showed you just now. And then we're going to bring the bodywork down on. Again, we've got screws going in, so again, watch your Japanese modelers. They will have ways of getting around that so you don't have these screw heads sticking out. And then we've got a decal going across the bottom there. That's like a black trim. I remember seeing that one. Better off painting it. And then we've got the option of having wet or slick tyres. And then we've got rear tyres there. We're adding our wheels, and that's it. The model is finished. So there you go. So looking at that, very similar to the Meng by the look of it, but apparently the Meng has some shape issues around the back. Apparently the Meng kit is wrong here. It's a little bit too bulbous, and there's also some detail issues. So let me know in the comments if you know about this one, what you know about, you know, if there's anything wrong with this one or if it's just the best, you know. But very nice. Hopefully they're on MP4-4 as well, because at the moment the Tamiya kit is fetching silly money. And also the Tamiya kit is getting on now and the tyres are failing and stuff like that. So there we go. Right, so that's the manual. Let's have a look at some plastic. So first of all, I'll just grab the sprues as they come. So this is sprue B. We've got resealable bags, which is nice, which means I can open everything. And then should I decide to sell the kit, I can still sell it as sealed. Let's face it, I've got so many bloody kits now, will I ever get around to building them? I don't have enough time left on this planet to build all the kits I've got. So, there we go. This is sprue B, and you can see here we've got the, let's get the light on now for you for better vision. You can see we've got some beautiful detail there on the engine, front and rear. It's a beautiful detail on those cylinders. We've got our cam covers there. There's the sides of the engine block. Integral cooling pipes by the look of it. And I think this is the back end of the transmission. And then here we've got the mountings for the rear suspension. And then here we've got some ECUs, electronic magic boxes, whatever they are. Next sprue off the block is this one here, which looks like tiny little greeblies and things. So let's get this one open. Very sticky bags, I must say. So there we go. This is sprue P. So these are lots of tiny little greeblies and stuff. You can see I've got our brake master cylinders there, which are lovely. And then we've got seatbelt buckles there. So they're not PE, because PE is a little bit too thin in this scale, I think. But they do look good. And then we've got all our little unions here for our fuel and oil and brake lines and everything. All tiny little parts, as you can see. Very, very finely moulded. No flash that I can see. Seam lines seem to be kept to a minimum. But you can see that is basically, that's P, that's N and that's Q. It's basically a little sprue of greeblies. Lovely. Got the tyres there, we'll look at those in a minute. Box of detail parts. So here we've got a bag of white parts. I won't bother getting these out because they're just, you can see it's just radiators. You can see you've got the moulded on grille detail, which you can imagine is on there. And then we've got the air intakes here for the turbos. And then some little square parts, whatever they may be there. Then another sprue of white parts. You've got the air intakes here on the sides. We've got the wing end fences. These are the front sides by the look of it, or maybe the rear sides. And then we've got these panels here going in. You can see we've got the, where's the opening? Just show you on here. We've got the Zeus fasteners moulded on, and they're very, very crisp and nice. So here we go. You can see on here, we've got ejector pin marks on here, but they're going to be going. We've got tiny ejector pin marks on here, but they very cleverly put them behind where the wings are going to be. If you can see them on there. This is the trouble with white plastic, it's very difficult to film, same as black. And this kit's all white and black. We've got ejector pin marks here, but they're going to be made invisible by the look of things. So yeah, no ejector pin marks on the intakes, which is nice. There's a line of something there. And the same there, it's probably the way it's had to be moulded, look, because you've got this section here, so the tool would have had to come out that way, and the upper tool would come out that way. So they've got a mould seam in there. It's just going to cry out. I don't know if you can see it, but there is a mould seam in there. Tiny little seam, will just need a bit of sanding. As I say, if you are going to use the decals, put down a clear coat at least, or some gloss white first. It'll make the decals stick a lot better. We've got some chrome parts here, which look like to be part of the these are maybe the header tanks for the intercoolers. That's what they are. And then we've got a little clear windscreen there, which looks very nice. And then here we have another bag of white parts. And again, we've got front wing end fences. We've got the front wing there all in one. And we've got the rear wing parts here. And there's the front of the monocoque there. But all very cleanly moulded. I'm just looking for ejector pin marks. And they're all sort of, they've done the same here. They've got ejector pin marks on it, but they've put them behind where the wing goes. If you remember on the Lotus, the rear under tray is a bit of a mess. Needs a lot of work. It looks like they've learnt from that. So here we have, in this little bag, we have our engine and gearbox one-piece moulding, which is very nice. You can see it's been slide moulded in all sorts of directions. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, wow. That tool wasn't cheap, I can tell you. So there we go. There's our engine and gearbox assembly. The basics of it. A little screaming V6. And then here we've got a little sprue again. Slide molded parts. These are our brake calipers. For some reason we've got 8. Maybe there's 2 calipers per wheel. I think there was actually, I remember looking at that image now. So we've got 8 brake calipers. Again, these are slide molded. This is sprue R. And they are simply stunning. You can see the detail from the slide molding on them. Absolutely gorgeous. Really, really nice. And then here we have our wheels. No doubt you want to see the wheels because everybody loves to see the wheels, don't they? Get this open. Sorry about the wrinkly bags, guys. Okay, so we've got 2 sprue W's here. Now, the Lotus kit, I'm not sure if it's the same wheels. They may have standard wheels across all cars. Remember, this was 88, the Lotus was 87, so the wheels probably are different. But you can see the detail on those is lovely. And then we've got the detail on the back sides as well. So they are beautifully made. They're also slide molded to get the detail, get the finish. And then here we have our main body itself. Where are we here? Where's the bag opening? There we go. So this is the main body itself. If you've bought one of these from eBay and you got it before this week, today is the 5th of September 2025. If you got it before this week, then you might want to check to see you've got all your decals, because I bought this from Hong Kong and the shop mailed me and said they've delayed the delivery because Beemax had realised they'd left a decal sheet out, one of the decal sheets. So you might want to check, if you've bought one of these off eBay, you might want to check you've got all the decals. So here we have the actual body itself. You can see we've got nicely moulded on Zeus fasteners, but then you're going to stick a Phillips head screw in the middle, so it's going to look not so good. The first thing I'm noticing, the shape looks good. I'd love to have the Meng to put it next to, but they've got this very, very heavily moulded line. I mean, that is huge, to mark the where the red and the white goes. The same here. It's not so bad here. It's quite faint. It's like a raised pan line on an old monogram kit. But here, this here is absolutely massive. It's huge. So that's going to have to be sanded out. There's a little bit of wavering going on here. I'll try and catch it in the light. You see around these parts here, we've got some, it's like sink marks or whatever, so they can be sanded out as well. But then the body wouldn't have been, you know, it's moulded, it's probably Kevlar or carbon fibre, so that would have it would have been a little soft in areas anyway. So don't worry about it too much. You can see we've got a sink mark there, a definite sink mark in there. It's very difficult to show you in the white. It's because of this thick section behind here. We've got a sink mark there, so same on this side. I don't know if I can catch it in the light. So you can see it, there it is. Okay, so a little bit of filler in there, sand that out. But, on the whole, the shape is good. As I say, I think the Meng kit is too sort of humpy back here. This has got a much nicer shape to it, by the look of it. So that's that. And then we've got this sprue here. I don't need to get this one out, so basically, yes I do, because you want to see the detail in there, don't you? Where's the resealable bag bit? They hide it very well, don't they? So let's get this out of here. So the actual, so you've got the actual tub there, you've got the detail in the bottom where the seats can hide. Okay. And then we've got the underside of the monocoque here. Remember, this is going to get covered by the under tray. And then we've got, these are cooling ducts for the front brakes. Again, we've got some, they look like sink marks, but I can't feel them. You can see there. You can see this is the detail on the back, but I can't feel anything. I guess a very light swipe with a sanding stick would have them sorted. They're very nicely detailed. Got the fastener detail and everything on there. And then there's the seat itself, and that's going to pop into there, obviously. So that's nice. Then we've got this little bag here with 2 sprues in it. Get this one open. If you've got the main kit and you've built it, let me know what you think of it and how it compares to this. Oh, there's more than 2 sprues in here. There's 3. So here we have uprights. So we've got our uprights there, and then there's some suspension parts there. That's our rear anti-roll bar, and that's beautifully moulded. Little square ejector pins on the back of there, just sand those marks off. And then here's our front uprights by the look of it. So very nicely done. And then there's the, I thought it was a steering rack then, but it's not. It looks like it's like some suspension end point or something. Maybe a shock absorber mount. But again, all slide molded. You can see these parts here have got some beautiful detail on them. Because they're slide molded, they're lovely. They've really gone to town with the tooling on this one. They've spent a fortune on tooling, which explains the price of the kit, because it's not the cheapest kit in the world. It's not available at retailers in the UK yet. They say the end of the month, but if you remember with the Lotus, it was like, especially with the aftermarket parts set, it was just ridiculous how long it went on. So we've got ejector pin marks all kept within here. So these areas here are free of it. We've got very shallow ones there. They'll probably just sand out. So they'll probably just sand out. The under tray has all the fastener detail on it, which is very nice. We've got the detail around there for the exhaust. Exhaust coming out into the rear diffuser, look, to increase the downforce. You've got the rush of the exhaust gases coming out of there, and they're hot, which will pull the car down even more. So that's very nice. And here we've got a big sprue of bits. That's what we like in it, lads, big sprue of bits. Right, so there we go. So we have in here, we have some lovely monocoque parts here. These are like the covers for the intercoolers, radiators, whatever. And then here we've got some side panels for the monocoque. There's more side panels there. We've got some more radiators or intercoolers, whatever they are here. Massive great ejector tabs on the back. They'll have to come off. And then we've got our disc brakes here. Obviously they're carbon brakes. They don't have any detail on them as such. And then we've got our pedals. A little bit of a seam line issue going on with the pedals, but that's just a sanding stick to sort that out. And then we've got our instrument panel there. Yeah, moulding on here is perhaps a little soft around these little plates and stuff, but I'm sure once it's had some paint on it, it'll look lovely. And then here we have the actual monocoque itself. So you can see the size of this thing. It's not a small model by any stretch of the imagination. Surrounded by sprues and parts. So there's the monocoque there. So you've got some sanding marks here where they've been polishing the tool. We've got the detail around the back there for the fuel tank, or fuel cell, should I say. We've got fastener detail on the sides here. No doubt the aftermarket's going to pick up on this. And then we've got some witnesses of ejector pin marks on it. I'm not sure if it's just shadows or if it's actually, you can see here. I think they're just very light going over the sander, they'll be gone. I'm not even sure if there's anything there. It may be just a shadow because the ejector pin marks are on the inside. But again, a little bit soft on the moulding front, but it's carbon fibre, so it would be soft. It wouldn't be like aluminium plates would have sharp folds in them and stuff. This will be a little bit soft because it's a moulded composite. And we've got another bag here. This is our penultimate sprue. So here we've got the end opening of the bag. Oh, there's our turbos. That's what I wanted to see. Let's see what the turbos look like. Right. So there we go. This is sprue F. So there's our fire extinguishers, another box of tricks there. We've got a part there for the back of the gearbox, I think that was. We've got some ducting here for the turbos, and that looks like exhaust pipes there in halves, so we'll have seams to deal with. And there's our turbos, and yes, the turbos are gorgeous. You can see you've got the compressor in there, you've got the Garrett around the outside, and then on the, where's the turbine? There's the turbine. They're beautifully done as well. Tiny, tiny little turbine and a massive compressor. That's for the huge pressure they ran. Obviously we've got the steering wheel here. This is before we had all the controls on the steering wheel. Remember, this is 1988, guys. It's a long way back. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. There's the top of the gearbox there. She's a beauty, isn't she? She's lovely. As I say, I've never owned the main kit. I don't know how it compares detail-wise. But I've got the main GT40, and looking at that, sort of certain areas of it are a bit simplified. And maybe the main McLaren is the same. As I say, let me know. So there's parts of, that's the two parts of our intake plenum there. And we're going to have a great big dump valve going on there somewhere. Not sure where it is. There's the back end of the alternator, there's the front end. And there's our intakes there with our fuel injectors positions in the side. There's our fuel injection pipes there. And then we've got the tops here of the intakes. There's the bottom, that's the exhaust manifold. So exhaust manifold flanges, there's 6 in each one. Very, very nice. Got some coolant elbows there by the look of it. You can see the detail on those parts is very, very nice. Very nice indeed. Lovely. Okay, so that's it for the sprues. And then we've got this box of tricks here. This is done the same as it was with the Lotus. It's like a toolbox, as you can see. Handle on the top and the drawers in the front. So it's a nice little gimmick, isn't it? And then in here we've got bags and bags and bags of parts. So in here we have a screwdriver. Right, that's that box empty. So here we've got our vinyl lines. We don't need to see those. We've got a bit of wire in there as well. Nice little screwdriver, which is handy for all your projects. Got some mesh. Photo etch, which is black. So that's your brackets and everything for your suspension and your bodywork and everything. And then in here we've got, these are our carbon infused suspension arms. So you can see they're very fine, they're beautifully made. Someone's going to say they should be aerodynamic. Go check your references, because they said that about the Honda, and they're not the Lotus, and they're not. They're actually square in section, so, or rectangular, but they're very strong. I'm not going to try and break it because it probably will, but you can see that it's not as flexible as plastic. And then there's that little jig you get there for bending your photo etch parts, bending these parts on. Just a nice little touch, isn't it? Just get another one of these out. You can see here's one of the bigger arms, and we've got the detail there. There's the spacers that go in there. They bolt that on and put spacers in there to alter the camber or caster or whatever they want to do. So yeah, very nice indeed. As I say, you can sort of see the carbon in there. Now these have got the aerodynamic shape to them, so clearly Beemax have done their research, and some are rectangular and some are straight, some are square. aerofoil, should I say. And then here we've got the gear linkage again in this plastic material, this carbon plastic, so that's nice and strong as well. Seam line to deal with on there, but hey ho, we're modelers, that's what modeling's all about, seam lines and ejector pin marks and all that good stuff. And then here we have a bag of greeblies. So in here we have, what do we have in here? We've got a coil spring. I don't remember seeing that in the instructions. There's a coil spring there. We've got some screws, fairly decent sized screws there. We've got one nut on his own. We've got some screws there. We've got a metal transfer there by the look of it. Oh no, that's just a decal. Maybe that's the decal they missed out. They've got a little MP4-4 decal there. It's going to go on the monocoque, I expect. Some more screws, some suspension springs, and some nuts. So that's all that there, which is all very nice. I am really now getting claustrophobic with all this around me. And then we've got tyres. So we have, you can see here we've got tyre racks with the tyres stacked up. So these are the wets. The Formula 1 model fans out there are going to know that these are either inaccurate or accurate, whatever. But we'll have a look. And it looks like they've actually given us enough decals so you can decal up both of these. So there's the wets. We've got writing around the sides, made in USA, radial, 25 by 10, 13. So it's going to be 25 OD, 10 wide, 13-inch rim. Those are going to be serial dates. And then here it's for racing purposes only, not for highway use. There's the date there by the look of it. Let's just have a look at that, see what it says. No, it's a code. Is there a date on them? D4-285-96. Not sure if that's some sort of code for date, but car tyres have like an 0496 on there, so that'll be April 96. But they are very nice indeed. Really nice tread on, and you can see the writing. The writing on the wall is it, hey? So that's the fronts, and then you've got the rears there as well. And they are, what size are these? Not for highway use. Where's the size? 26 by 15 by 13, so they're 15-inch wide, 26 OD. So you can see there's your front and rear wheels together. There's a mould seam in the middle that'll take sanding off, but very nice indeed. Okay, and then moving along, we have our dry tyres, or our slicks, which are very nice indeed. If they're anything like the ones in the Lotus. The only thing is how long will they last? I suppose the beauty of having these spares is if you've got another kit and the tyres have gone because it's the first thing that goes on these models, you've got some spare tyres for it, because they cost a fortune. I've got some Model Factory Hero ones, and they cost a fortune, but they are very nice. Right, so here we have the bit shiny. Here's the rear slicks. You can see we've got the wear indicators on them there. We've got the writing on the sides. Again, not for highway use. Same sizes, 26, 15, 13. And they are very, very soft in the middle. I have seen what somebody did. They took like a 2-litre Coke bottle and they cut the ends off, so it with a tube, and then they slit it, or they cut it into strips that wide, and then they slit it down the middle and then rolled up the strips, put them inside the tyre and let them expand into the tyre. It gives the tyre some rigidity, because as you can see, these are extremely soft. Extremely so. These are a lot more rigid. The fronts aren't so bad, but the rears are very, very soft. So yeah, put some foam in there, or like I just said, with some strips of plastic, whatever. So there we are. Very shiny, aren't they? I don't know why they're so shiny. So there we are. There's our slicks, and that's our tyres and everything. So that's the kit, guys. That has been the brand new Beemax McLaren MP4-4 in 1/12 scale. As I say, the kit number was 12002, wasn't it? So yeah, very, very nice indeed. And as you can see, there's no Marlboro decals or anything in there, obviously. It was funny actually. I was watching a classic touring car race the other day, and the classic touring cars, there was one of them, my favourite ever, was the over SD1 Bastos. But these classic touring cars still had cigarette advertising on them, and they were racing at Silverstone. So you kind of think to yourself, there must be some sort of rule that says if the car is made before a certain date, then it's allowed to have cigarette advertising on it. Which would make you think they could put that on the models, wouldn't you? But hey ho. Anyway, and also remember, in I think I'm right in saying, obviously there's going to be people that correct me or put me right or whatever. In this period, I think there were some races where they didn't carry the Marlboro decals. I think they had the stripes as you get in the kit, but don't quote me on that. So there we go. Look out for it in your local shops, Hero, Boys, Scale Model Shop. They'll all be getting them in, and can fill your boots. As I say, if you've bought one recently or last week from eBay, it may well have a decal missing, so you'll have to get in touch with Beemax and get that decal sent to you. But you've seen everything in this review. If you've not got something that's in this review, then you best get onto them. So thank you for watching. Very soon we will have a review of this, and this is the detail upset for the kit. Again, it's made by Beemax, so it's always good when you get update sets which are made by the manufacturer for their own kits. They generally fit very, very well, like with the Tamiya sets and everything, so bear that in mind. Actually, that's quite weighty, there's a lot in there. Alright, so and as I say, I've got 2 of them, so there's 2 of those there, so I will be selling one of them. If you're interested, let me know. I'll see you all soon. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.